I got some ideas, I got some pals, let's get together and pitch some games. Next, we are getting to talk about Earthbound. Shay, have you played Earthbound in its entirety yet?
No, not in its entirety, but I did play a couple hours into.
You've dabbled in the Earthbound.
Yes, I have dabbled in the Earthbound.
Okay, well then let me educate you. So, Earthbound is actually the second in a three-part series called the Mother series. The first game was for the Nintendo. The second game was obviously the only one that came over here, and it was renamed Earthbound. Do not know why. And the third game was for the Game Boy Advance, and that was the last game of the series, and that came out in 2006. Now, people can play all these games. There are very good English translations of the first game and of the third game. And Nintendo, for whatever reason, just has no plans of releasing the games here. It took that game, Earthbound. Earthbound came out in 1996, 94, 95, 2011. And it came out in 1995 on the Super Nintendo, and the reason why it didn't do that well, and there wasn't that many copies of the game, which is why it's so rare, is because it came out at the very end of the Super Nintendo when the 64 was, getting ramped up. And, who wants to go to the dumb old Super Nintendo when we got the 64?
64s were pretty awesome.
Which is why I feel like a lot of games, they miss out on opportunities. A lot of great games come out at the end of the console, and a lot of people move on, and sometimes they get missed. So I think Earthbound is one of those games, and it's just, I missed it. I didn't really know a lot about it, and I played it, I believe, one of my very early reviews on Examiner, and it was 2012, I believe. And I played in its entirety, and I was blown away. I just how well it holds up in terms of graphics, the story, the overall oddity of it. It's got like a great feel. It's just everything. It's just very well put together. And last year I played Mother 3, and that game is even better. It's gorgeous. The sprites are just so good. I love those two games. And I've dabbled in the first one, and the first one is very archaic compared to these two, and it's very hard to go back to. Just with a lot of games, right. Play the original Final Fantasy or the original Dragon Quest, it's just like, god damn, are these just long treks through just repetitiveness,
Yeah, especially with the old Dragon Quests.
So, while I have no qualms about, I obviously want them to release all the Mother things here. I think the only one that I really need to release is Mother 3. Especially since, my point, going way back, my point is this game came out in 1995. It was later ported in 2003 to the Game Boy Advance with a collection of Mother 1 and 2, which of course we never saw. But it wasn't until last year that Nintendo finally re-released it on the Wii U Virtual Console. That is a span of 18 years, right? 8 plus 2000. Yeah, 18
right.
years. From the original release in North America, it took 18 years for Nintendo to re-release it in some capacity, even though fans have been craving it forever. And how many times have they released the original Mario, just all the Marios and Zeldas, repeatedly on the Virtual Console and repackaged and re-releases? How many times? But Earthbound, something that fans clamor for, they wait 18 years, and it was actually advertised in Japan as a big Wii U thing. Get a Wii U, get Earthbound. That's how crazy popular the series is, especially in Japan and stuff. And it's how rare it is that they were marketing it to try and sell this Wii U. It was like a $10 game. They're like, get the Wii U for this. And I think it worked in some form. The Wii U is still struggling, but in terms of a lot of fans, I think a lot of fans were like, yes, let's do this. Instead of, you think about it. You're Nintendo. The only way that people that are the only way people are going to play this game is through emulation. That's
Right.
That's the key factor in emulation is one, convenience. Let's say I have a copy of some game for my my PS1. I have Final Fantasy VII. Let's say that it doesn't exist on the PSN for download. I can download this emulator and play it on my PSP just so I can have it portable. This is all theoretic since you can do that already through the right channels. But the same goes for Earthbound. You release it on Virtual Console, maybe on 3DS. Play it anywhere. Basically, you're cheating yourselves by not re-releasing something because people are just going to emulate it anyway because it's the only way to get that game, and why not make money try to do it? And I understand that Earthbound has a lot of... the reason why they didn't re-release it, at least one of the reasons why they talk about was there's controversy with some of the audio stuff. Some of the samples sound like some Beatles songs, and I believe there's like a Blues Brothers thing in there. So just a licensing thing is just kind of weird. And whenever you ask them about it, they're very cagey about it.
Well, wasn't there's a story about Earthbound being about abortion?
That was a theory that one of our friends told us. There's a lot of weird theories out there. I mean, someone thinks that all the Rugrats are dead and they're all figments of Angelica's mind. So if you find something... you go with it. There's a theory for anything and a story, whatever you want out there. But in terms of Earthbound, yeah, it's a great game. You should buy a Wii U. I don't know if anybody
just to get
it. I mean, the right way. If you want to give Nintendo money instead of emulating it, yeah. I mean, emulation in its sense is not illegal. What is illegal is, I guess, pirating games if you don't own the game, because technically the gray area is if you own the thing and you get a digital copy of it, then it's not really illegal. It's quasi in that gray area. It might be in that same area where someone might say, if you're a cop, you gotta tell me. It might be in that terms of legality, which is not true at all. So I don't know if that's a made up thing, but I just think that they should release Mother 3 over here. In terms of, first of all, that's what they should do. They should get on their ball and release the Mother games over here, first and foremost. Right. Secondly, they should get that shit on the 3DS, just Earthbound in general. And I would say they should make Mother 4 just because they need a strong RPG of their own for the system. I mean, they got the Mario RPGs and stuff, but they don't have anything wholly original. And I mean, they put Ness, which is the main character from Earthbound, in the Smash Brothers games, so he's been around for a long time. He hasn't been forgotten. I mean, really, I guess. I mean, he has been in stuff, but he just hasn't been in new games, or the Mother series just hasn't been anything new. And when the developer, or the director, has talked about it, Shiga... I'm going to butcher this guy's name. The director, at least for Earthbound, I'm not sure if it's the same guy, but the director of Mother 3, at least, when asked about making a sequel, he's like, Mother 4 is your life. No need for a sequel. So that sounds pretty crazy, and I'm sure I'm mistranslating that, and I'm sure I'm getting that thing wrong. But
so we're living in Mother 4 right now.
Yeah, they all have messages in them. Like Mother 3, if you play that, there's a crazy inference of childhood, and there's some crazy stuff if you look hard enough. I think probably the abortion thing is probably maybe what Mother 2 / Earthbound maybe is about. I don't really know, but perhaps deep down in there. But I mean, you don't have to have something crazy if you're gonna make another Mother 4. But there actually is a fan project going on right now, and I'll leave it to the fans to make a sequel or port things or just to dress stuff up. There's a lot of great fan games out there and fan projects to...
Right, like, there was that one for Chrono Trigger.
There's actually a lot of fan projects for Chrono Trigger, and there was, like, a really good one. There was, like, an actual 3D remake.
Chrono...
I think it was like Chrono Resurrection, like the Cross Resurrection Project or something. The one that I'm thinking of. And Square Enix was like, shut it down. Like, oh, shit. They've done that a lot with a lot of stuff, and it's too bad because a lot of these guys, they're not trying to make profit. There's a guy right now, two guys that I interviewed for Examiner. One, he's making basically this 2D Super Smash Bros. That is so much fun. And there's another one, Pokemon Generations, which is basically a 3D Pokemon game, which is what people have been wanting for a long time, and Nintendo continues to ignore that that want and that need for an MMO or just a 3D Pokemon in general. I understand the reason why they talked about this is a portable series. That type of gameplay wouldn't translate to the home console. But in this age of internet, you can trade things super easily. That is a lame excuse. Especially because you're not the new Pokemon, X and Y, you can trade online. You do not need to be near anybody, and it's super easy to do so. So, I understand back in the day when you had to have a fucking link cable to do that shit. That makes sense, but we're in a goddamn digital age, so...
And I mean, I've played around with that Wonder Trade, I think is what it's called, right?
Wonder Trade?
Yeah. Where you can trade Pokemon over the internet.
Oh, the random one. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's like Pokemon roulette. You don't know what you're gonna get.
It's like getting a Gachapon.
Uh-huh.
What are you gonna get? Oh my gosh, I got the super rare Pokemon. And I just gave you this Caterpie. Fucking enjoy that.
Actually, I just read a thing, a news thing for that said, special event Pokemon are not allowed to be traded.
Really?
I was like, well, how's Nintendo gonna police that?
I suppose there must be some kind of code, because if you try and take a certain Pokemon into certain battles, they don't let you. Like, I tried to take a Zekrom into a battle, and it's like, nope, can't do that. Which I suppose is fine, because everybody has, like, the legendary Pokemon, and they're kind of a little bit overpowered. So, you know, limiting them, in a sense, is good. But yeah, I guess I don't really have so much ideas in terms of Earthbound and Mother, as much as I just want once. I just want them to port it. I want Earthbound. I want Earthbound to be more prevalent in re-releases, or maybe a 3DS port. I mean, Chrono Trigger for the DS made... Literally, there was other games to get, but as soon as Chrono Trigger came out for the DS, I went to fucking Walmart and I bought that shit just for that game. I mean, I also bought Mario, and I continued to buy tons of games to the DS, because that is a great system. But Chrono Trigger was the reason to buy that system, because that was a hard game to get. The Super Nintendo game, it was the best version of that, because the PS1 version, while not that hard to track down, was a fucking shitty-ass port of that game with terrible load times. And I love that game so much that I played that game 6-7 times to get all the endings. And that probably doubled the time that it would normally take to play that game, because those fucking load times are so stupid.
They were atrocious, and they were in places that you didn't even need them.
You couldn't even open up your menu without waiting. It's like, really? I can't hear my guys without having to fucking wait? I think I understand going from like area to area and having some loads, but Jesus. I don't even know how the Wizards managed to fuck that up so bad. It was a ROM. How do you make a ROM with load times?
They found a way.
But my point is, that was just a port. They didn't up-res the graphics. I mean, they added like touch controls and stuff to that. So I imagine
they added the animation sequences was the only thing they added for the PlayStation port.
Right, and I don't even know if they're in the DS version, but.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, and they did have like the extra dungeon and stuff like that, but all stuff that wasn't needed, and I'm sure didn't take that long to make, especially because it was just a sprite game. But if they did that for the 3DS, that Earthbound game, for a very niche audience, would sell a lot. And if you market it correctly as a Nintendo RPG, and you do a lot of advertisement for it, it would sell a lot of copies, especially if perhaps they modernized it where it was just easier for people, perhaps, because I actually don't even think Earthbound is really that hard, but there is some stuff that maybe people would be like, I don't, I don't know.
I don't like that.
Yeah. I just don't understand. It takes time to do this stuff and to port stuff and do some work like that, but I don't know. I mean, this is a whole series of us talking about Nintendo's franchises that they own that should just be out there, that they should reboot, especially in a time when Mario used to be every few years and used to be something special for that system, and it was different, and we'll get into that when we talk about Mario. But Mario has turned into a yearly franchise, just like Call of Duty, just like Assassin's Creed, and some other stuff. I mean, while those games do have a certain amount of polish to them, they also lack in a lot of other stuff. And all those things are not terrible games, but they're not as special as, waiting a few years and maybe really just refining everything about it. I mean, really.
Yeah.
That's just a rant for Mario and some other games. But any closing thoughts on Mother?
I think Earthbound could use a modernization. Just I mean, if they took the time and ported, if we got Mother 1 and 3, they could easily put all 3 games onto a 3DS like card.
Yeah, they could. I mean, they did the 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance, so
they could even add some animated cinematics in there, and would not even
just even an intro. I mean, that wouldn't take that much time.
Just wouldn't even bat an eye. I mean, as far as how much those cards can hold, as far as capacity is concerned.
Yeah, I'm just
I really feel like the series should get more. It should get more coverage than it does, and unless you're talking to someone who just is die hard about the game, everyone just kind of looks at you and shrugs and goes, "Well, whatever." It's weird.
One thing that I do want to talk about, I was going to bring it up and I totally forgot. In terms of Pokemon Generations and that Smash Brothers game, Super Smash Flash, what it's called. Those games are free. They are basically advertising how cool, what they like about Pokemon, what they like about Smash Brothers, and they're showing their own spin on it. If they were selling that game, obviously Nintendo would take it down, or even I would have problems with it. Even if the game was good, it's like, all right, but you're using a copyrighted franchise to get profit from it. But those games are just fan games, and they're kind of like something I talk about in those interviews and stuff is, I asked him, is this like you're advertising, for getting a job to make video games? And both the guys were about that. They wanted to get into game development, and this was just a fun thing to do. And to really start getting into programming and stuff. So I mean, that's really cool. And I think that with this Mother 4, which is supposed to come out sometime in 2014, they said winter. So any month now, perhaps I should email them and see what's happening. But they're releasing it, and it's going to be free. And I mean, that's pretty cool, and it hasn't been shut down yet, and there hasn't been any news of it for months now, and I'm getting really worried that Nintendo is trying to shut it down, and I would cry, because if Nintendo won't do anything about this goddamn game, then let the fans make something for everybody else. Fans make these games for fans. And to shut something down that is only going to make your brand, which is Nintendo, be harmed, just in the fact that they're like, well, Nintendo's are a bunch of assholes, basically. And like I said before, I mean, I understand trying to protect your own property, but when you're not, gaining anything from it, if you're not getting any monetary value, you know, what's the harm in it? Copyright in general is just a fucked up thing, but yes, this Mother has turned into a rant, and Mother 4 is life, so yes, maybe Mother 5 is life. But yeah, let's move on to something else.
Boom, ba-chak, boom, boom, ba-chak.